Would that be weird if I burped in the opening of the podcast? I guess I just did because we'll just use this because it'll be interesting.
Weirder things have happened.
A rare morning town tailgate brought to you by Around the Diamond. Welcome, everybody. I'm in full Raiders mode, Julio, because I'm just over the A's. Got my Raiders shirt on. Even changed my background on my phone.
Okay.
So I do my phone wallpapers based on the season that we're in. So I don't do so it's an A's background on my phone until the A's season is over, which I consider it over now after being swept by the Mariners. And then same with the Raiders. Once their season's over, then I'll move it to the Warriors, and it's just a revolving cycle. It's a revolving cycle.
My background's just
let me guess, your cat.
Yeah, it's just a little fat cat.
Only one though, huh?
And then when you open it,
do you favorite? What about the third one?
No, she's in there. Evie's in there. She's
well, you have a dog now, so you should change it.
Oh crap! I haven't told you. No, her family picked the dog back up.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not dog sitting anymore. So now you're just
no more dog sitting. Just back to being the world's best cat dad right here.
There you go.
Can't believe I'm wearing this shirt in that moment.
Welcome in, everybody. A little bit of a interesting week to have a podcast. I don't know. You just muted yourself.
Well, that sucked too. I'm just saying it sucks right now.
Yeah.
It's a cluster fuck. So today's big three. We got a team that's getting excruciatingly hot at the best time possible, and it's not the A's. We got a bit of a brawl over a card in Tampa Bay, and the NL West just keeps getting even more and more complicated. Chris can break that down. And A's news: Seabass, he's back. We're going to talk about a start. We have another reliever on the reliever carousel to keep going with. And then if you didn't hear the A's news, the ticket prices for season ticket holders was hiked exponentially. So we brought in
it was more than doubled, right? It was more than doubled.
It's pretty big. So we brought in one of the most notable Oakland A's fan season ticket holders, Brian, aka the Pin King, aka
King
one of the
Pin.
co-founders of the Last Dive Bar, aka the What the Fuck guy. He's going to be joining us, give us a little more insight for a season ticket holder, kind of talk about what's going through there. And then usual stuff, close out. We have our upcoming schedule, or talk about their essential tailgate tools from last week. But Chris, the Cardinals are back.
Ish.
Holy crap, man. The St. Louis Cardinals are on a 12-game winning streak right now. They are 4.5 games up on the second wild card spot.
Mm.
And this is their longest win streak since I think they showed 1981 or somewhere in the early 80s, where guess what they did when that happened? They won a World Series. I'll tell you straight up, man. A lot of my NL friends are terrified right now because they're the phrase that
even your Dodger and Giant friends are terrified.
Yes, like a few Dodger fans are like, no, not them, not like it's this two teams that always kind of full of this fuckery, for lack of word.
Yeah,
the Giants and the Cardinals, and guess what? They're both doing it right now. But this team is just an absolute machine right now. They just swept the division leading Brewers, which is, we're the biggest Brewers fans in the world. We should just get Brewers hats.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Rest of the season, Brewers hats.
Normally playoff time when the A's get knocked out of the playoffs, which always happens, I become a Dodger fan. So maybe I should become a Brewers fan this year.
So if you haven't been paying that's not a bad idea. The stadium looks cool. Maybe we can get on the slide one day.
Yeah.
But the biggest reason, hey, out of nowhere, why are they so good? Well, remember this Nolan Arenado guy? Everyone kind of forgot about him. Well, he is having another crazy season, 33 home runs, 103 RBIs. Even though his average is down a little bit, he's still doing it. Tyler O'Neill, the human. You ever seen like what a buff dog looks like? Like a buff, like he looks like that.
Like one of those buff pit bulls or buff.
Yeah, just
Pugs.
stout. Like that's what he looks like. He has been on an absolute tear this last month. He's about to hit 30 home runs on the season. He has 13 steals. Really electric player. Paul Goldschmidt is hitting another 30 home runs. And then let's not forget about the freaking old guy committee that got going on there. Adam Wainwright, fountain of youth, has really just had another outstanding year. Yadier Molina, well, all-star this past season, he's kind of fall off a little bit the second half, but he's still Yadi. You're always going to trust him behind the plate. And then, hey, you remember John Lester and Jay Happ, and we're like, oh, why would they make these moves? Whatever. Well, during this kind of run they've been going on, they've been pretty good pitchers. So, Chris, my question to
hold on. It's just funny that you said all those names in this overview as like you were gonna like kind of name drop some like unknowns, and 99% of them, except for one guy, the Pitbull guy that you said, are pretty well-known names in the name of baseball in the past like 10 years plus.
But that's Adam
Wainwright or Yadier Molina 20 years. But I get your point, but it's just funny. It's just like, yeah, remember that guy Nolan Arenado? It's like, well, yeah, if you're a baseball fan, of course you know who Nolan Arenado is. It's just, but he disappeared last year, and then this year, yeah, it's just interesting.
It's the thing that's super interesting to me. I'm glad you kind of brought that point up. Mm-hmm. Because it's like the Giants. With the Giants, you forgot like Buster Posey's the best catcher, arguably the best catcher this decade. Like there's a reason why Brendan Crawford. There's a reason why Brendan Crawford's been a freaking starting shortstop for 10 years. The reason why Brendan Belton's still there, kind of thing. Because like, these guys get shit done. Old guys, they figured it out, and that's what's happening right now.
The pandemic shortened season gave these guys so much rest. Like Brandon Crawford had a terrible last couple of years, but only playing 60 games. He's able to work on his body all season. And look at him; he's a home run machine. Buster Posey took the season off. His knees are looking a lot better. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
Now, my question for you is: do you think this is sustainable? Do you see them actually, like making a run? Really?
Yeah. Yes. The Cardinals always make a run in the playoffs, no matter like how limped in they get, or no matter like what their situation is. It feels like every year if they are the central winner, or if they're a wild card team, they barely make it in with like around 90 wins, sometimes less. It's always a concern when they go in where it's like, this Cardinals team is probably going to be a first round knockout in the wild card game. And then they win the wild card game, and then they win the AL division series. And it's like the next thing you know, they're in the NLCS. NL division series. Next thing you know, they're in the NLCS playing against, the Dodgers or the Cubs or something like that. Whoever the number one team is going in, you're just like, what the fuck? Where'd this team come from? Because it's always the same situation. They're grounded by like 2 or 3 really good starting pitchers. And then they have about 2 to 3 guys on offense that just pretty much carry the entire team on offense. Like I'm trying to think of that team in 2018 when they made it to the NLCS. It might have been 2017, where it was like Marcell Ozuna, Paul Goldschmidt, and like Matt Carpenter, and like they pretty much like just carried their entire offense. The rest of their team was, around average in terms of hitting, but those 3 guys were able to just bring in runs. And then in the NLCS, they completely fell flat because Marcell Ozuna just completely shit the bed. Paul Goldschmidt was hitting like barely over the Mendoza line in that series, and it was pretty much Matt Carpenter hitting home runs, and it just wasn't enough. It wasn't sustainable against the machine like every powerhouse that they go up against. So do I think they can make a run to the league championship series? Yes, but no one's beating the Giants and the Dodgers. I'm sorry, just no one's doing it.
Well, you realize if they're going to make it to the NLCS, they're going to have to beat the Giants and the Dodgers, because the wild card is going to be one of those 2 guys, and then they're going to play whoever's the best record, which is going to be one of those 2 guys.
That's not necessarily true. Oh wait, I guess it is true. Yeah. So it would be Milwaukee or Atlanta in the NLCS.
Yeah. So I think so. And I think another part too is my kind of critique for them. And I think I've been a little what if I would say their fault is I don't think the rotation's super deep. Wainwright's good, but I still think at the end of the day, Lester and Hap are kind of unpredictable. In terms I don't think you're going to get any more dominating performances out of them, but you're not going to get more than like a blow up.
But they have a lot of playoff experience though.
True. And then actually the one guy I like, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but Kwang Young Kim, the lefty Korean pitcher, he's been pretty dope out there. But I think the X factor and what will really help them out is your boy is coming back this weekend for them. Yeah. And by your boy, I meant by somebody on your fantasy team, Jack Flaherty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's going to be the major X factor for them because you go into a playoff series with him, Lester and Wainwright. Like that's pretty dangerous because you have the young stud at the top of the rotation. Then you have two proven world championship, world class playoff pitchers. It's tough.
Yeah. As much as like NL people don't want this to happen because they've seen this story before, I think just like complete chaos of an October would be if the Cardinals knock out whoever's going to be the one seed of wild card. So screw it. I'm all in. Why not?
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
I'm juiced. I think it'll be fun. Is Ronnie back on the Cardinals train?
So last I talked to him about it was like the end of last week or something. And I can pull up the exact quote, but he doesn't think it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But excuse me. Let's see if I can find it.
It's fine. We can talk.
He's rooting for a good game. That's all he's saying. He's like, I'm rooting for a good game. He's like, I don't think the Dodgers, Cardinals. If what are you going to do? Yeah. He's like, I'm rooting for a good game at that point. He's like, but I don't think that's going to happen. But
yeah,
we'll see. Alrighty, next up. Chris, I have a little note for you. But you can't have it yet. This is like the funniest thing that happened this past week. If you did not see on Wednesday, we had a bit of a kerfuffle happen in Tampa Bay. Kevin Kiermaier was going for inside the park home run off of
Kevin Kiermaier plays for the Rays, if you don't know.
Thank you. Kevin Kiermaier of the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going against the Toronto Blue Jays in Tampa. He's going for an inside the park home run. He's actually pretty close to pulling it off, but Alejandro Kirk, the catcher, he had blocked off home plate. He tried doing a little trickery where he kind of threw his body back and tried to slide it in, but he just missed it. In that process, though, Alejandro Kirk's like game plan on his wrist fell out. So when Kevin Kiermaier was kind of laying there like, hey, we should review this, you see this piece of paper and is like, yoink, and takes that. They show him go into the dugout. He slyly passes it over to like one of the coaches, like, hey, be quiet about this. And the following game, and there's a lot of, and then that night he got interviewed.
Hold on. Can I add some more details to things that you missed? So for those of you who don't know, every player, there's obviously a game plan and a scouting report for every single game given by the coaching staff. And if you're a player who plays in the field, if you're a position player, when you're in the field, they usually tuck it in their hat, like right at the rim. And you'll see them when they play games. They'll be out in the outfield and they'll, in between at bats, they'll pull their hat off. They'll take a look kind of inside because they're reading the scouting report, what their positioning needs to be, so on and so forth. And then when they're batting, they'll like put it in their pocket or something like that. And whatever, he goes in the steal, falls out of his wherever he was keeping it. And it literally I just want to like kind of like paint a picture real quick for the situation. It literally like kind of drops right in front of the catcher. I forgot his name. What's his name?
Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah. It literally just like kind of plops right in front of Kirk. And Kiermaier is so excited he scored. He gets up and turns around, just walks away. And Kirk just kind of looks down and goes, like very gently, just kind of reaches, grabs it, and just kind of like tucks it away.
Kiermaier took it.
Or sorry, other way around.
Kiermaier was on the floor. Yeah, Kirk walks away. Kiermaier's on the floor.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, I asked who the catcher was, and
Yeah.
Anyway, and he just grabs it and kind of tucks away, and just like he kind of like looks around a little bit, but you could tell that nobody. It was just like the most sneaky move I've ever seen. Anyway, keep going. Press conference.
And he had it like quarterback style, so he has it on his wrist.
Yeah.
On there. So they asked him about it in after the and post game. He was like, "Oh, I think nothing much out of it." But Toronto, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but they're pretty much said like, "Yo, that's not the piece of paper that we want you to have. Like that's not for taking." So what happens the following game? Kevin Kiermaier gets hit by a pitch. And bench is clear. Nothing happens. So do you think, was this justified? Do you think this was so upsetting? Because like some of the John Boy breakdown, what he was talking about was like, hey, you lose your battle plan, finders keepers. Like that's a competitive advantage for the other team.
Yeah, no, that's a little bitch move by the Jays. Like you gotta like that's not his fault. Like it's not stealing signs. It's like you're gonna take any advantage you can to win in within the realms of the rules. And there's nothing against the rules. It says if your player drops the game plan on the floor and the other guy picks it up without them knowing, like there's nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. He did everything right, in my opinion. That's on Kirk for just like allowing that to happen, and his teammates for, if they saw it, not saying something. Like I don't know what else to say. If that's such an important piece of paper to hold on to, like why is it like being handled so for lack of a better word, I want to say lazily, but that's not the right word. It isn't being taken loosely,
I guess.
Yeah. That should be a lot more like taken care of and a lot safer. So for the Blue Jays to take it out on Kiermaier is such a bitch move. I'm sorry. Like you should be mad at your guy for doing that. Like, dude, what the fuck? Why is that in your wherever it is? I don't know. Why is that in your pocket when you're running the bases, or why is it that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the real, I'm not gonna say like, oh, Kiermaier should have been taking better care of it. Not Kiermaier. Kirk should have been taking better care of it and have been aware. Maybe, when you leave your apartment, you kind of do your house. You do like the wallet, phone, keys, mask, check, all right, got everything with me. Cool, I can go. So like, maybe going forward, you need to be like, all right, I have my glove. I have, it's like, all right, do I have my mask? Cool. My face mask. Cool. A game plan. Great. But yeah, I totally agree. Finders keepers, man. That's your fault. You need to take care of that shit. In my opinion, though, and I don't think that's really Metro Kanata. I think you shouldn't have thrown at the guy. I think I think in his post game, I don't think he really said anything wrong. I know some people kind of have some animosity towards Kiermaier because he's kind of cocky. He's a really
he's a modern
hitter.
He's just like a modern day like person. Oh, shocker. Like I don't
know. No, well, they're giving because he's like super cocky, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm the best defensive center fielder in the game. But he's also like not a great hitter.
What's crazy about this whole thing is most catchers have like the QB wristband and it's on their wristband. Like, why is it in a piece of paper?
No, that's what he had.
And it fell out?
Yeah. Like the flap came off the top.
It was a folded piece of paper though.
Well, when it came out, because he probably had it like slipped in or something. If you see, if you look at like the clip and you can see that it's how like it was like that. It was weird. But Chris and I have a bigger theory. We don't think this is a game plan. We thought it was like a middle school note that was being passed along, and they didn't want to see it.
1000%.
Yeah. It probably said like, will you go out with me?
Yeah, it's pretty well known that Kirk has this massive crush on Austin Meadows. I mean, just, I'm sure you can't find this, but I'm sure if you went the deep dive of Reddit into speculated MLB crushes, you'll find that on the top of the list. You won't. This is not a real thing. I'm doing a bit. I don't want people to actually like go on Google and start looking at this. And, I think that just Kirk was just like, you know what? I'm going to ask him today. I'm going to ask him if he likes me. So he wrote on a note, do you like me? Circle yes or no.
Will you go
And then
to
he
prom?
decided midway through the game, like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to ask. I'm not ready to ask him. So he kept it to himself. And Kiermaier saw that. It's like, I'm going to sneak this over to Austin Meadows.
Will you go to prom with me?
Yeah. Just ask.
Or what was it? What's the little thing called where you put all the paper on your hand and you go like
The cootie catchers or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was at the process of making one of those.
I remember I was always
and it's just
fascinated
like
by those as a kid, but I never knew how to make them. So I'd always have to ask like other people to make them for me.
same. The one says what it's but all the different possibilities are different Rays players. It's like Randy,
Yeah.
Nelson, Brett.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wander.
That's definitely it.
I think that'd be a lot more interesting, to be honest with you. Chris, take it away from here. This NL West playoff scenario just keeps getting more complicated. Now it's going to be stemming into the NL. This sounds like a scene from the movie Basketball. So what the hell could possibly happen?
This is the biggest story of the league right now that no one's talking about. Okay, so the Dodgers and the Giants are one game apart in the NL West. The Dodgers are 98 wins and 55 losses. The Giants are 99 wins and 54 losses. Now they don't play each other for the rest of the season, I believe. I think the season series is over. But there's a very likely possibility, and both these teams have already clinched their playoff berth. They're 14 games ahead of, oh God, they're 14 games ahead of the Padres, who have just completely just fallen face first. Sorry, 21 games. That was wrong. Oh, it's so brutal. The Padres suck. And there's a very likely possibility that the Dodgers and Giants could tie at the end of the season in game 162. And if that were the case, then they would play a game 163, and because baseball is a little bit different than football or basketball, they don't do the season series to decide who wins the division. They do a 1-game playoff before the wild card game. So we saw this in 2012 with the Rangers and the Rays. When the Rangers lost game 162 to the A's won the division, but they also had a record tie with the Rays. So they had a 1-game playoff, game 163, to get into the wild card game, which they lost. This could happen with the Giants and Dodgers, but it's a different scenario. The winner wins the division and has a bye and moves on to the ALDS. The loser has to play in the wild card game. Not only do they have to play in the wild card game, but if they win that wild card game, they'll be going up against either the Cardinals or the Phillies, probably the Cardinals. If they win that wild card game, because of the way that baseball formatting is, it's not like the NBA where it goes from best record to worst. The first place team plays the wild card team, and then the second best record for division winner plays the third best record for division winner. So they're going to potentially play each other in game 163. Loser plays a wild card, winner plays the ALDS, and then they could potentially play each other in the ALDS. So the two best teams in baseball could potentially be playing each other in the first round of the actual playoffs. And the worst part about all that is the Braves are barely above 500. And they're going to get to play the Milwaukee Brewers, who have won 91 games. They're playing a little bit better. Julio, my question to you is there some flaw do we want to see the two best teams in National League play each other in the first round of the playoffs? Is there some sort of flaw in Major League Baseball's playoff system? I mean, there's a lot of flaws, but this particular one.
No, I don't. I don't want to see them play each other.
I thought you said there's no problem. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no problem.
No, there's no problem. It's perfect model. Everything's perfect with baseball right now. No, I don't think it's a good model because the odds are too. If you think about like how the broadcast is going to be, the odds are these games are not going to be played in the spotlight. They're not going to be played prime time. They're probably going to be on like a what like there'll probably be a day game. They're going to be second fiddle because they're going to be playing the East Coast games instead. In reality, if there was a possibility, and it's not going to happen because of how the system is, that we could have had a Giants Dodgers NLCS. The first time they've ever played each other in the playoffs and be an NLCS would be insane. But it's like we're not going to have that because of the
Is
way
this
the
the first
system
time
works.
ever?
So at least the first time as the LA
So
Dodgers, San Francisco Giants.
okay. As I say, I'm pretty sure they played each other in the NLCS a few times in the 50s.
Yeah. Probably when they're, I think, but also the playoff system was so simple back then where like, I don't think there was a division series. It was
No, it
just
was
like
it was like English
the two
Premier League.
best teams
If
play for
you
the pennant.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the system. So yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. Especially two teams who've been playing their ass off in a tight race all season, and then one of them is going to have to be stuck in a 1-game playoff in general is bullshit. Now, another way to look at this as well is if, let's say, you go to game 163, if you so if you're, let's say the Dodgers go to game 160, Dodgers and Giants go to game 163, who are you pitching in that game? Because you're guaranteed a playoff spot, so it's not win or go home. Do you want to pitch Scherzer in that game, or do you want to pitch maybe Bueller or Urias and save Scherzer for the actual win or go home game in the wild card? I guess you could argue like you don't want to be thinking that way. You want to be thinking like, let's win this game and then we go to a series. And also Scherzer has a couple days to rest. He can pitch game 2. I don't know. This was a really interesting way to look at it. If you're the Giants, I feel like it's a little bit easier decision because though Gaussman season wise has been really good, he's not, in my opinion, that much lately, at least better than Logan Webb or oh my God, I'm totally blanking on the other guy.
Anthony DeSclafani?
Yes.
Alex Wood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's not much of a different level better than those guys. So maybe Logan Webb you pitch in that game, and then I don't know. It's just such a weird scenario for a manager to have to deal with. I'm sure Gabe Kapler has like some insane analytics that will give him the right answer. But yeah,
They really, again, MLBPA, this offseason negotiations is going to be crazy. I think they should expand the playoff system. I don't think 8 games is the answer. Maybe or 8 teams is the answer. Maybe, I think we talked about it last week or a couple weeks ago. We're doing like a 6-team top 2 seeds get a bye,
or 7 like the NFL, and just the number 1 seed gets a bye.
Oh yeah, that it's just kind of crazy because I think no matter what we try to do, at least in this situation, those two, the Giants Dodgers, were never going to be able to play each other in the NLCS, no matter how we try to fixate it. And it's also, you also have to think too how we grew up with like what 2 of the craziest playoff series in our memories are the 2 Red Sox Yankees ALCS is in 03 and 04. And the odds of 2 division teams playing each other in an NLCS or ACS is so rare. So I think a part of us is kind of like, we want that feeling again. We want that like kind of, that's so rare for it to actually happen.
Yeah. Also, like if this was last year's playoff format, then these teams wouldn't be playing each other. The loser would be playing because it was like the number 1 second place team played the lowest division winner, so they would be playing the Cardinals or not the Cardinals, sorry, they'd be playing the Braves in round 1 as opposed to the Dodgers if this was 18 playoff. And then the NL West winner would be playing, let's see, they'd be playing the Padres. Like it's just I don't know. It's just I really like that about the system last year. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think 8 teams is too many, but I do think that you should be rewarding the best teams in the league for just really dominating all season. So like, yeah, a 16 playoff sounds great, but a win or go home game in general in baseball is just a slap in the face. Like we just played 162 games and we're gonna make it come down to one game. Like that should be a 3-game series, in my opinion.
So I'm looking up the numbers in front of me right now, honestly, because now I'm kind of thinking like, oh, how many times have two division rivals have faced each other in a CS series? So over the last 20 years between both leagues, I'm so close.
Is it?
It's happened
Handful?
8 times.
Yeah.
But it's happened, I don't know, food for thought. It's happened more times since it's happened less since the wild card restructure where it's a single game.
Yeah.
So food for thought. But it's interesting how that's happened. Oh, I didn't realize.
So
I forgot Bomel was the manager for the D-backs team in 07 when they got swept by the Rockies.
Yeah. Yeah, baseball fans, look out for that. That's going to be an interesting race. I would definitely keep an eye on those records. The likelihood of a game 163 is a little bit unlikely, but it's definitely possible. They're only one game apart. So, if not, then it'll just be especially with how hot the Cardinals are, to be a very interesting wild card game for whoever loses. I was listening to ESPN 720 the other day, and they were talking about the wild card matchup as if it was going to be the Reds. I'm pretty sure most local radio personalities just don't watch the whole league. They only watch their local team, because he was talking about it like it's going to be the Reds. And I'm like, does this dude know the Reds are like 5 games back? Like,
yeah, it's like they've fallen off
and know what the Cardinals are doing. Like, what the fuck is like, who's paying this guy? Like, yeah. Anyway. All right.